Hi, I'm Josh from Big Country. I'm the contractor that's doing the fence here today. Basically what we're up to is we've pulled the old fence down, and probably the most important thing from here before we start the job is to check for underground services, make sure that wherever we dig there's not going to be any power, electricity or telephone. Other thing we need to make sure is that we've got all the right safety equipment, we've got our own personal protective equipment, and that we have checked with the local council for their council regulations and requirements. We've done that all here today, so we're about to set up our string line and start marking out to dig some holes. So here I am about to mark out my post centres. Here on the ground we have a post which is 127mm square with top and bottom rails routed in it. We have here a top rail with each of the picket holes routed in it, and this one here finally is the bottom rail. Now, to work out post centres, what I've done is I've put a couple of marks on this rail. On each of the panels we need to work out the same distance between each vertical ends up at the end of each post. In this particular case we have 53mm. So I put a mark on each end of this rail. This mark represents the edge of my post that's going to be installed in the ground. Now, to work out the post centres, then take a measurement from this mark, which represents the inside of this post, to the other end, which represents the beginning of the next post. That is the distance between my posts. And then of course, to work out the centres of the post, you add a half post each end, or in this case the full 127mm, to bring the centre of each post to 2 meters 450mm. So we know our post centres are 2450mm. Now what we need to do is find our starting point. In this case our first post is going to be at the edge of the concrete here. So just to visualise that, just put that post there, and you can see that we've got our starting point, our starting post of 127mm, nice and hard up against this concrete. So from here all we simply do is measure out our 2450 centres. So measuring from the centre of each post, I then move along and mark 2450 at each point as I move along the string line. That's going to be the centre of my hole where we need to dig. Well, that's the last of the holes dug. We've used our marking out and dug a hole suitable for the size of the post. We can determine the size hole we need on these posts simply by measuring from corner to corner and that would be the minimum that you would need to dig your holes in diameter. So once the holes have dug, we've set up a string line. You see this string line here? This string line will represent the bottom of the fence. So we set that to height and we mark the posts at the bottom of the fence. We put the same mark on the posts. So now all we need to do is mix up some concrete and start putting in some posts.